Yeah. Well, the great thing about being at 60 Minutes is you're expected to choose. Like all the pieces you do are pieces that you want to go do. I mean, the only requirement of 60 Minutes is find a good story and tell it well. In a given season, a full season is from September to May, and you should do 14 pieces a season, and it's sort of an average load. And you can do everything from a profile, like I did a profile this season on Tyler Perry, the movie director. And I did a story about bomb squads in Afghanistan. My friend and colleague Scott Pelley did a piece from the Congo in Africa about the gold business. I just love telling stories. I just love talking to people. So it really didn't matter to me. Like I've been asked that, what's my favorite story? I mean, I honestly kind of like them all because I see everything as a teachable moment. It's an opportunity to work on my game. I always say that, and it seems to me that journalism is, that as journalists we cover struggle, whether it's a struggle for power, the war in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq, the struggle for survival, Hurricane Katrina, the tsunami in Indonesia. You know, I was thinking about the story in Washington State today, those 4 police officers who were killed yesterday by a guy who walked into a diner and shot 4 officers, 3 men and a woman, and killed them all. And I just checked my BlackBerry. They thought they had him pinned in a building, but apparently he's not there, so he's still on the loose. And so I think about, you know, stories like that, like what it means. Like these 4 officers, between them, had 9 children. So, you know, so there's a story to do today about certainly the particulars of what happened at the diner. There's a story to do about who this idiot is who killed these people. There's a story to do perhaps about, you know, the high price that people in law enforcement pay to do their jobs, or the impacts on their families. Perhaps there's a story to do about training, like were they, is there a level of training they could have had that would have enabled them to have reacted faster, that all of them wouldn't have been killed, or whatever, you know what I mean? So I'm thinking there's always stories to do, and I just like telling stories. I like writing. Once it was agreed, like a year ago, that 60 Minutes to do a profile on Tyler Perry because he's this, you know, he's a phenomenon. I mean, he's, you know, one of the most successful movie makers. His last, I think, 7 movies came out #1. He spends a minimum amount of money to make his movies, and so once we sold the idea that it was, yeah, he's worth doing a profile on. Then the research team went and everything that's ever been written about Tyler Perry, said by Tyler Perry in the public domain, they got copies of it. Put a binder together about this big. So homework never goes away, guys. There's always going to be homework. A binder about that big, which was, I was required to study it, to know everything that's ever been said about him. Then we went and looked at all of his movies, all 7 movies, all the first like 20 episodes of Meet the Brown, his TV shows, to get a flavor of his work. And then once you do all your research, and so you have a sense like, here's what we know about him, what else do we want to know about him? Then I sat down with the producing team and went over questions, and might have had like maybe 80 questions. And you kind of melt those down to about 20 questions. And then when I got to the interview, I'm really only asking about 10 questions. A good interview, has been said in television journalism, is read, 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 listen, listen, listen. That you do your homework. It's almost like, I think, being a journalist is like being a lawyer. That when you go into an interview for a story you guys are working on, there shouldn't be a lot of surprises when you get there. If you're surprised by something, that means, aha, that's real news. Or, I didn't do my homework. You know what I mean? A piece I'm going to show tonight on 9/11. We had this long discussion about, there was video of people falling from the building. And, you know, culturally, we as Americans don't show those kinds of things on television. They do in Europe, certainly, in Israel, certainly in the Middle East. You know, they show things like that on television. And there's a cultural reason why they think you should show things like that on television. So we had this long discussion, not long discussion, discussion because there was a lot going on that day. What should we do about those images? A, should we shoot them? And the decision was, yeah, I mean, you can always decide not to show it, but you got to have it to make the choice later. Okay, then should we put it on television? Well, you know, it's an awful day, it's a terrible day for America, the families. Well, okay, no one can see, you can't identify anyone falling, most likely. So there's back and forth, back and forth. So I was trying to decide, how would I write that line? Would I write anything? Would I not say anything? Would I not show it? And I thought, so this is my thought process through that. I thought, okay, this is the worst act of terrorism in American history on U.S. soil. This is an awful day for a nation. As opposed to saying, and people jumped. My line was, when when despair gave way to desperation, was kind of how I characterized it. Hoping to elevate or say something more about the moment than just people who jumped out of buildings, you know. And I must have spent, you know, probably a good 30 minutes just thinking about, okay, how am I going to describe these people jumping out of this building? You know? In my professional life, I've seen 47 people die, killed, either shot, stabbed. I've covered 2 executions, lethal injection, electric chair. Saw a guy throat slit in Haiti. Saw a guy stoned to death in Afghanistan. You know, so I've seen people die in a variety of ways. But 9/11 was the only time I've ever watched people die who played no direct role in their death. Like usually, you know, in war, you know, combatants, that's part of the game. In civil and acts of civil disobedience, okay, those, you know, that could happen. In criminal engagements, those things happen. People convicted of crimes are put to death in this country. Okay, I got all that. But 9/11 was the only place where I saw people die who played no active role. They just happened to be at work that day. So that was, for me, emotionally hard because I'd never seen, I'm comfortable witnessing death because that's my job, but not seeing it in that context. In the early hours of 9/11, because there were fighter planes flying by, and there was rumor that we were on attack, you didn't fully understand what was going on. Then you hear like there are planes falling in Washington, there's a plane in Pennsylvania, and you know. So I remember being a little disjointed then, that I'm not feeling up to it. Like I didn't know enough to be able to cover. It was too big to cover. Like how do you sum up what just happened in 3 minutes? And I remember when I was talking, the only time a boss has ever told me, I called my boss and said, okay, how much time do I have to tell the story? He says, as much as you want. Really? Shit, okay, all right. So does it mean I get 30 more seconds than normal tonight, or what is it? You know, like, no, as much as you want. I hung up the phone. And I remember kind of like, gee, no one's ever told me that before. Like, I'm used to doing pieces in 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, and he just said as much as I want. And, you know, to watch someone fall to the ground, that takes 15 seconds. And, you know, the towers falling, that takes like, you know, a couple of minutes each. And then people running out the street, that's a couple more minutes. So if I don't say anything and just show the pictures, that's probably 5 minutes. And I've never written a story that long, and it's already 11 o'clock and news comes out. You know, so I was a little overwhelmed then for a bit. And it seems to me that just besides it being vital to our democracy, that as human beings, we all love to hear a story. What child, you know, for those of you blessed to have children someday, you'll get to read it, you know, you'll get to whisper a story to your child. Well, as journalists, that's what we do. We whisper stories to people, you know. You know, I became a journalist to put truth to power, afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted. That's why I became a journalist. And I still get to do that. And, you know, the medium may change, but I think the fundamentals to journalism is fundamental to our country. I wanted to work for 60 Minutes in great part because it was my impression as a young person that it was like the holy grail of broadcast journalism. The best people in broadcast journalism work for 60 Minutes. It's like playing for the New York. If you're going to play baseball, you're going to play for the Red Sox or the Yankees for the most part, right? If you play football, you're going to play for maybe the Patriots or the Giants, whatever, you know? And so in my business, you want to work for 60 Minutes. You know, in print, you want to win a Pulitzer. In my business, you want to win a DuPont, a Peabody, an Emmy, and you want to work for 60 Minutes. You know, because but it was my dream. I mean, I believe in dreams. I believe in you know, the promise of this nation says if you work hard enough, if you want something bad enough,